Well, good morning, everybody. July 1st, coming up on the big celebration, 4th of July, Independence Day, but also the 250th, man. And I hope everybody has a wonderful time, safe time, and hope it brings some people together for a change, hopefully. So, anyhow, I've got a quick one for you today. Had to start a little bit early as I've got some commitments to get to shortly. So, but I wanted to make sure I got one of these. Got a really cool story that just happened, and it's combining a couple of different concepts here, a couple of different things. So, there's a lot of layers of lessons in this one. That I'm going to go through it and also show you how I work with people as well. So just going to tell it exactly how this deal laid out, and you'll see it truly became a win-win-win for everybody involved, which is the way I like it. So I'm going to share my screen here and we'll get into it. So this deal is going to be involving something called eminent domain, which most of you would probably, if you're in real estate, be at least familiar with the terminology, how that works. But this was a note that was created. We got a 12% yield. And then the partner that I had in that note decided that they wanted to cash out after a year. So how does that work? And what do we do with all of that? So I'm going to develop that into one nice story format here for you. So it all starts with the real estate, right? That's our collateral. We don't own the real estate. We're just buying the debt on this real estate. So that's where it starts. And it's so important because that's our fallback, right? That is our collateral. So if things were to go wrong on this deal, that's what we would end up with, right? So it's very important that we understand the value of that. So this came in at about $150,000 about a year ago. So this is when we first looked at this deal. Now, the ad that we found with this deal showed that this borrower bought this house for $149,900, okay? But they put $104,000 down at closing. Now that's pretty darn unusual for a house of that price range for someone to put $104,000 down on a $150,000 purchase. I mean, you just don't see it. Okay, that's more of a payment for a much bigger house, $1 million house, something like that. Not this. So kind of unusual. And you can see they put a note in there that the down payment comes from the Department of Metro Development as the borrower's previous home was taken by eminent domain. So that started making some sense to me. In fact, when I first got into real estate, I graduated college in South Carolina, Furman University, came down to Orlando, and I became a real estate appraiser, a commercial real estate appraiser. And one of the first big projects that I worked on was a condemnation project utilizing eminent domain, where a road was going from a 2-lane road to a 4-lane road, which meant the entire length of the road, Oak Ridge Road, as a matter of fact, the entire length we were taking, or not us, we were evaluating what the property was worth that was being taken away by the city from all of these homeowners. So they're taking a portion of their front yard. So we had to evaluate all those values. What's the property worth now? What's it worth after this is gone? And what's that individual piece worth? And then eventually that got approved and people got paid. So eminent domain, the government can't seize your property without compensation, but with certain things that gives them in the law the right to do that for highway expansion, for certain projects that are needed in a community, that sort of thing. But there has to be just compensation. So in this case, her just compensation was about $104,000 that was run through this Department of Metro Development. Very interesting. So I see that, but I also want proof of that, right? So it's trust but verify. The rest of everything else looked good. So, you get a 40 something thousand dollar note here, originally 44.9, and we ended up buying this note really without any real seasoning, maybe 1 month of payment. Normally, that's a riskier move, right? If you're buying an untested, unseasoned note from the get-go, boy, you're taking on some risk. You have an unknown borrower. But in this case, she came in with the $100,000 worth of equity. She's not going to walk away from that. So that really counterbalanced any kind of equation that you would normally do on, yeah, but she hasn't made any payments. Yeah, but she came in with buying into it $100,000 worth of equity. we're good. We're fine. She's not doing that and going to walk away on payments that are $400 a month. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. So, well, I had no problem jumping right into this one, and we still got it at a discount. As you can see, the balance was basically 45, and we're paying 40. So we still have a nice little discount in there, which bumps our yield up on this. Great. Perfect looking note. Now we go into the due diligence piece, right? What's the property actually worth? What does it look like here? And by the way, I negotiated that down to 38.4, it looks like. So they were asking 40. I got it for 38.4. And there's a $45,000 balance. So good on me on that one. So that's what we got it for. And I wanted, show me the documentation. So I got the actual letter. Here it is, and here's what we did, and this is the property this person owned, and the government's taking it away for public use. They have to give fair compensation, and that's what the compensation was. So I had the actual letter there showing me that proof. I wanted to see it in the closing that they did use that money, and sure enough, there it is, right on the settlement statement that money was indeed actually paid right there towards the property itself. Fantastic. Everything that they said made complete sense. Everything else, all the documentation is here. You can see miscellaneous from Department of Metro Development, $104,930. Beautiful. Everything looks good. Was it papered up the right way? Indeed it was. We got the down payment there. We got the note for 44,970, the balance, and the payment sale start in May, and we bought this before the ink had hardly dried, right? No problem with that. And because of the discount that we got, 38.4, okay, we're getting $404 a month for 230 months. That's over an 11% yield, extremely low investment to value ratio because she put so much money down. And we're in a nice spot for the investment to balance as well. We paid 86% of what the balance is on this untested note. So one thing of concern was, well, because she's given this money from the city, the county, what have you, if she doesn't pay, do we still have the right to foreclose? That's one of the things that I thought about because I didn't know the answer to that. It's the first time I've run into a situation like this. I was familiar with eminent domain, as I said, but I wasn't familiar with this particular state, with how this fund is run, because my thing became, well, what if she gets this? And because it came from government money, we have to jump through hoop after hoop after hoop to try to foreclose if she doesn't pay. That's where my concern came in. Well, I researched it. And I found out that no, they don't impose any specific restrictions on foreclosing a private mortgage or note. Right there in writing. Just got to do some good research, everybody. That's one of the things in this industry I'm known for. So I looked it all up, researched it, felt 1000% comfortable with this deal, and it's been a perfect performer. No surprise at all. But my current elite member, okay, so I have an elite membership program where I actually partner with people, and not a way where some people do it in this industry where they partner with you by putting no money in, but they get half of your profit. No, no, no. The way I partner with people, I put my own money in the deal with you, and I don't want the lion's share. I might be in for 10%, might be in for 20%. So I put in 10%, I get 10% of the monthly payment, I pay for 10% of the expenses. It doesn't affect your yield at all. The perfect relationship, because even with a 10% ownership, I can still manage the deal on behalf of my elite member slash partner. That's the way I work in my elite membership program. So I found this deal. I negotiated the deal, got it to my elite member. I thought that it would fit perfectly. He agreed. We partnered on it. We own this 90. He owned 90%. I own 10% on this one. And it's been a perfect paying note. In fact, sometimes she pays months in advance. She'll pay one payment. She's covered for 6 months and pays it that way. So she's an extra good performer. But the gentleman I partner with on this one, he has some other opportunity. He's got now several notes with me and decided I've got to sell a note to cover this other investment that I want to get in, and this was the one that he picked. Because he knew he could get a great price for it. This is a really, really good note. So he contacted me by email yesterday and said, hey, want to cash out of this one. Can I do that? How does that work? And I said, no problem. I'm going to go to another elite member. I'll run the numbers for you. I'll tell you what I think it's worth. If you agree with that, that's what we'll go with. And I'll just have another member come in and buy out your 90%. And I'll just maintain my 10%. And it makes it super, super simple. And that's what we did. So when we originally bought this, you can see this was the purchase sale agreement in June. We actually closed, I think, at the end of June or beginning of May. And that's when their first payments were due. And you can see, well, I blocked this out, but my partner here, they own 90%. And my company, ProSpeak, owned 10%. And there's the 38.4 purchase price, everything that I showed you right there from the actual purchase and sale agreement. We've had this one professionally serviced at Madison, right? So I've got the whole payoff amount, and the unpaid balance is barely, it changed by $1,000, everybody, in the course of a year, because again, most of what this borrower is paying is interest in the very beginning of this. So little has really changed. So now there's 226 payments remaining. Okay, out of the original 240. Is that right? So let's see. Initial purchase. Yeah, there was one payment made. So we actually collected 239 payments, or that's what we were buying on the initial purchase. And then now we're buying 226 that are remaining. Okay, so they're coming in at pretty much exactly the same price that my investor came in before. And the payments are still 404 per month. So I get $40.04 a month on my investment, my 10% share that I bought in. They're going to get 90% of this payment, which gives them a 12.74% yield for the next 200 every year for the next 226 months. Win, win. New investor win, old investor wins. Borrower's just chugging along. She's doing great on the payments. Everybody's happy. I'm happy. I was able to facilitate this deal. I don't charge to do that either. I just put the two parties together. There's no broker fee for me or any of that kind of stuff that other people probably do. I just don't do it that way. I want to teach people how to do this and do it the right way. And my commitments to get them in good deals, and I'm putting my own money in with them. I think that is the fairest, most ethical way to do it, quite frankly. So that's what I do. But cool little example here of a couple of things. You got to learn to investigate this stuff. When you see something kind of strange like that, look into it, verify it, check it out. Think about what repercussions could happen, just like I did. Came to the conclusion everything is a good go here. The only added risk I have is she is an untested borrower, but with that much money, let's face it, probably in good shape. Got all the other paperwork. The property value came in good. Got the partner in. It's just been smooth sailing on this deal. New partner's going to come in, slip in the shoes of where the old one was. Servicing company's going to get new instructions. No longer make that portion of the payment there. You now make it here. Kevin's portion unchanged. And if anything ever comes up, I'm right the deal and we'll rectify it and make everybody happy once again. So just a quick little example for you today, but hope you enjoyed that one. Have a safe and wonderful and festive Independence Day weekend, everybody, and we'll talk to you again real soon.